Lansdowne Road in Dublin, a ground Australian rugby remembers somewhat more fondly than does New Zealand. Last time the Wallabies played here, they beat the All Blacks in that famous semi-final of the 1991 World Cup. Today, Australia are back for the first of 5 games in the Emerald Isle before they cross the Irish Sea and play 7 games in Wales and 1 at Twickenham. Today's opposition will be strong. Leinster, the Irish provincial champions, already with half a dozen games under their belts and boasting a number of internationals in their team.
Referee this afternoon, another seasoned campaigner. Welcome visitor to Lansdowne Road from Wales, Mr. Derek Bevan. Derek Bevan blows his whistle and Marty Roebuck gets the first game of the Wallabies tour underway. Already Phil Cairns under pressure. That's Martin Ridge hacking through as skipper Vincent Cunningham follows up. Well, a dramatic start by Leinster. Derek Bevan, though, brings them back as Vincent Cunningham thought he was heading for glory. Derek Bevan gives the first scrummage of the afternoon then to the Australian side. And what a test this is going to be for that Leinster front row against what's arguably the most powerful scrummaging front row trio in international rugby. Peter Slattery, that's Gavin. Slattery again. Offahangawi couldn't hold. The formidable Gavin takes it forward. Good rucking by the Wallabies. Lina. Oh, there's a bit of a gap. And Michael Lina, the skipper, opts to go for position rather than unleash David Campese, who'd come round from the left wing. Michael Lina, the most prolific point scorer in international rugby union football. First line out of the afternoon, John Murphy, the Greystones hooker. Looking for Rigney at the front. It's a good ball by Leinster. And what a confident kick by young Alan McGowan. That's quickly taken by Campese, the new dispensation allowing him to do that. This is Carrozza who can't hold. Chance for Leinster if they can capitalise, no advantage. Derek Bevan waits. Leinster have won that well. Fergus Ahern, Cunningham the skipper. Nicely placed for Clark and for O'Brien to chase. And a good confident start, Fergus, by Leinster.
Yes, and obviously a nice start for Alan McGowan because he's hoping to get a couple of good kicks in because Leinster will take advantage of that full wind that they have in this first half.
Perfect conditions at Lansdowne Road. A bit of a breeze which is slightly favouring Leinster. The pitch really in remarkable order. Back on the Australian side, tidying up by Peter Slattery. A fiery start by Leinster. And the possession not won by the Australians, so the put into the scrummage is going to go to the home side, Leinster. Good strike by Murphy. That's Fergus Ahern. That's O'Brien. Runs into Carrozza. Leinster back row well there, and Derek Bevan blows his whistle. That quick scrummage ball, Fergus, is just what Leinster will be looking for. Slattery under all sorts of pressure. And again, Leinster are doing well.
Yes, the first few scrums we've seen have been drifting around, moving forward on the Leinster loosehead side, and it's causing a bit of disruption in the back row on the Australian side. Hence, Peter Slattery has been caught once or twice already in the early stage of the game.
On the near side, Derek Dowling against the formidable Tony Daly. Ahern, that's McGowan the youngster. Cunningham the skipper, right through. Well, Vincent Cunningham held up a matter of 2 or 3 metres out. What a great ball this for Leinster. McGowan, that's Ridge, who's very strong. Great defence by Lina. Hurley, the loose head prop, tidies. Great support again by Leinster. Options open on both sides. Ahern with the dummy. Leinster will have to win it, and the penalty against them for going over and killing. Very enthusiastic. The crowd don't like it. Derek Bevan quite right. Lina takes it quickly. And Jason Little one of a pair of 22-year-old centres from Australia gets it away. A lively start by Leinster.
Yes, and the Australians have shown twice on the initiative that they will always take with a quick line out in one instance and then the very quick penalty that both times they've caught Leinster.
Wonderfully taken by the huge John Eales. He's got support. Mackenzie adds his 17 stones to it. Great driving by the world champion. Slattery, Lina, Offahangawi. That was the Tongan torpedo, among other things. Leinster offside, Phil Lawler. And will Michael Lina opt to go for the first points of the tour himself? It's a long way out. And all that hard Leinster work really reduced to nothing. Lina playing it safe and playing it sensibly. And when you've got big men like Rod McCall and John Eales and Tim Gavin at the back, you've got a lot of options in that line-out. Because the free kick was to Australia, the new law says that they will get the throw-in to the line-out. That's Phil Cairns. Looking for Gavin. Nice tap at the back by Eales. Well taken by Leinster. Ahern. Well, he's used the wind well. That's going to test Campese. It's bounced infield. Here's Campese. Doesn't find touch. That's McGowan. He's got support inside from Ahern. Alan McGowan. Well taken by Campese. John Murphy, the Leinster hookers, in support. Well, this really is terrific stuff by Leinster. Brian Rigney, the heaviest man on the Leinster side, 18 stones of him, gets forward. Ahern, Henry Hurley, the loose head prop, that looked like a high tackle. Not a high tackle indeed. Derek Bevan reckons that the Australians were offside. And what a tremendous performance by Leinster.
Yes, and again, it was a very good kick by Ahern, and I do think Leinster are using that wind. It's quite significant out there, and they're going to have to get points on the board in this first half to make any contest of the game. One or two things I'd like to see Leinster doing is in the back of the scrum, I'd like to see them releasing that ball straight away, because I think their potential to score points is going to be behind the scrum and not up front. So I think really getting that ball away quickly. I also think they could use one or two short line-outs.
That's Niall Woods, the Leinster wing three-quarter from the Blackrock Club. Plays his club rugby outside Brendan Mullen, who alas has lost to Irish rugby through retirement last year. So what looks to be a fairly straightforward chance for Niall Woods to score the first points of the Australian tour. And that was a pretty poor attempt by Niall Woods, and he'll not be desperately pleased with himself about that. It wasn't a particularly difficult kick, but he made quite a mess of it. So coming up to 8 minutes gone, no score. Advantage, you have to say, with Leinster. Marty Roebuck with a restart. That's perfect for his forwards. Well taken by Phil Lawler, the Leinster number 8. Dowling, the prop, trying to help him. He's done that well. Eales suspiciously offside. Murphy, Ahern, that's McGowan. Well, that's a towering kick. That's going to test Roebuck. Underneath it is Ridge, and Roebuck takes it wonderfully well. Kept his eye right on the ball. Chance for the Australians. Carrozza changes his mind. Kieran Clark for Leinster. Drop it, goal. That's a good one. Oh my goodness, that couldn't have been closer. Line of the skipper looking a little bit unsettled. And two let-offs, Fergus, for the Australians. A straightforward penalty miss, and then that drop goal.
Yes, I think the Australians are finding the conditions just a little bit blustery, and also they're getting a very good lively response from Leinster, so they really have got to work a little bit harder.
Roebuck with the restart. Underneath it well was the huge McCall. Leinster have won it. Ahern, that's into the box for O'Brien to chase, and Carrozza takes it. Interesting that while Carrozza is wearing number 14, he's actually playing on the left wing, and Campese's over on the right. but they don't seem to mind where they play. Ahern, bit of pushing, but the ball did not go down the middle, and Leinster will take the option of the scrummage. Indeed, it's going to be an Australian put in.
Comment earlier there, Jim, about Carrozza and Capesi. In fact, that's the way Capesi always seems to wear his shirt, on the wrong side.
Good scrum by the Wallabies. Slattery. Delightful kick by Michael Lynagh. Taken over from the man with whom he was partnered for so many years, Nick Farr-Jones, as the Australian skipper. The breeze still favouring Leinster. John Murphy from Greystones, the hooker. Rigney got a first touch through his Slattery. Kelvin Leahy almost on top of him. That's Peter Slattery. No relation to the gentleman sitting beside me, or so he tells me. Murphy. Lawler couldn't get to it. Beaten by Eales. Slattery off a Hangawi. He's so strong. Now they need to win this. And Leinster may just have stolen it. So it's the old case in the new law of use it or lose it, and the Australians couldn't get it back. And the scrummage is going to go to Leinster. 11 minutes gone, still no score. Fergus Ahern. Good strike by Murphy. Ahern, that's O'Brien, still there. And Fergus Ahern recovered well. I think Derek Bevan felt that there was just a little knock forward.
Yes, unfortunately O'Brien has got the ball twice on the short side, and each occasion he's fumbled, and it's unfortunate because he's a good, strong, hard player and he can take the ball on the short side.
Nice miss move. There's Campese. Look at that acceleration. First glimpse we've had of him. Support from Little. Lynagh, the skipper. Two Australian props arriving rather late. Daly and Mackenzie, but they've won it. Roebuck at outside half. Off a Hangawi, interception. Not offside. Derek Bevan had a good look. Ahern. Ridge. We had three men over. Campese, who can play a bit at full-back covering, as you'd expect an international wing 3/4-2, and gets it away. Wrong option, Fergus, perhaps?
Yes, I think Ridge should have let that ball go and give the players outside the time in which to judge whether the kick was on. But certainly the option was there for his outsides to kick the ball. I think he should have moved it a bit further wide.
There's Tony Daly, the Australian loosehead prop. Leinster on the Wallabies 22. Well taken by Jim O'Callaghan from Wanderers. Hurley, the loosehead, doing a good job of ripping. Ahern, that's McGowan, is at a confident senior interprovincial debut, if we can call it that. Well taken by Ridge. Great ball by Leinster. McGowan, Cunningham, the skipper. It's out to Woods, trying to get round Campese. Oh, he's done it. Woods going for the corner. Oh, what a great try. The crowd at Lansdowne Road thrilled to bits. And Niall Woods, who scored a couple of weeks ago for Leinster against the Irish Exiles in a similar position, had to do much more this time. Alan McGowan provided the perfect link. Now, the Australians seem to have him fairly well covered. And Woods against Campese. Campese seemed to have him, and then Woods just wriggled out. He's got a fair turn of pace. The Australian defence was caught. They slowed down when they thought Campese had him.
Well, really, Leinster shouldn't have scored from that position because Australia had more players defending than Leinster, and Campese made the mistake of almost throwing Woods through the tackle and setting him on his journey into the corner.
So it's Woods himself with the conversion. And one or two people were saying that if Leinster could hold this Australian side to 30 or 40 points, they'd be doing well. And here they are 5 points up and a conversion to come. This is the man who scored the 5 points. And he hasn't got his accuracy right in terms of his kicking. He missed with an earlier penalty. But 15 minutes, not quite gone. And Leinster leading Australia by 5 points to 0.
I think one of the problems with that wind is that both kickers are left-footed. And we're seeing here Woods running around Campese, and Campese throwing him out of the tackle almost, and Woods slipping away and scoring in the corner.
The game has restarted. Derek Dowling, the Leinster tight head. Ahern, McGowan. That's not a bad kick by him. He really is a very confident player. Young Alan McGowan was in action for the Irish under-21 side in Newcastle in the middle of the week when they went down to the England under-21s. That's Kieran Clark, the full-back. Phil Cairns, captain of the New South Wales team that toured New Zealand this year. Well won by Eales and tidied by Daly. Slattery, line up. That's going to hang. There's quite a stiffish breeze. The skipper underneath it himself. Taken on by Cairns. What an aggressive runner he is. Wallabies win that. Roebuck, Horan. Nice little flip on by Lina. Lovely skills. And he'd be a little bit worried about the way things have gone in the opening 10 or 15 minutes. Leinster certainly winning their own share of possession. Kelvin Leahy for Leinster, calling the shots at the line-out. Slattery. Stepping across the line, and Rod McCall doesn't like the decision, but I think it was John Eales who transgressed. There's McGowan. Underneath it is Ridge, who's taken it, and he's laid it back. Ahern, Dowling, did quite well there because the path seemed to be blocked. That's Murphy, the hooker. He needs help, he's got it. Great stuff by the Leinster pack. Really, this is a performance to savour. McGowan, Ridge, couldn't hold it. Derek Bevan waiting for advantage. Good refereeing. Slattery. But full marks Fergus to Leinster.
Yes, tremendous continuity there, because the forwards in the first instance, Murphy was caught, and then he got tremendous support again from Rigney, and then Rigney was caught and the support was coming in all the time. And unfortunately, the pass from McGowan to Ridge just couldn't hold on to it, but good committed stuff by Leinster. I think that the problem that the Australians are having is they're depending on the skill, and they're because of the wind, and it is very, very strong out there. One or two of their passes are not just holding, so they've got to work a little bit harder.
There it is again. It was a very well won ball by the Leinster pack, and Martin Ridge came through in the pass. He took it high on his chest and couldn't get his hands around it. Good solid Australian scrummage. Line is giving that plenty of height, which means it's going to hang. That seemed to go forward from Ridge to Leahy, who was in support. Australian suspiciously offside. Gavin, the number 8, just hanging. And unfortunately for Leinster, they couldn't use the ball, so they've lost a put in. There's Phil Lawler off the field at the moment, the Irish international. So the Leinster scrummage down to 7 men, no number 8. Kelvin Leahy, the flank forward on this side. And that's very untidy. Derek Dowling against Tony Daly, two short, squat, hard scrummaging men. Now, can the Australians expose the extra man? That's Campese. Nobody with him. He was looking for somebody. There's Slattery. That's Lina, great speed. Needs help. Got it now. And the touch judge on the far side just signalling that an Australian was in touch. Good defence there by Kieran Clark, the Leinster fullback. Coming up to the end of the first quarter. Leinster leading by 5 points to 0 against the world champions, and what a scoreline that is. Quite unexpected. The free to Leinster, and once again, big John Eales, the man in trouble, transgressing, and an injury to an Australian, and it's Tony Daly, the loose head prop.
Well, that's good for Leinster, because obviously with Phil Lawler on the sideline, Leinster are playing away with 14 men, and they just couldn't afford to keep that up for too much longer. I was surprised that with Phil Lawler out of that scrum, the Australians didn't use the back row move and attack the narrow side. Instead, they tried to move it out through their back. So I think that they had an opportunity there to do something to Leinster, which they didn't take.
Lansdowne Road about half full, which means we've got something in the region of 25 or 26,000 people here.
One of the nice gestures by the Leinster branch was to, I think it's important to give out the free tickets to the school kids. So you've got about 6,000 hopefully here today.
An interesting kick by Leinster. It may have come back on the Leinster side. It's good refereeing by Derek Bevan. That's McGowan. Hasn't given that perhaps enough distance. Kelvin Lee in pursuit. Oh, Campese. Who else? He's kept that alive well. Little hint of a knock forward. No, says the referee. Play on. That's Wilson, the flanker. My goodness, he's strong. That's Offahangawi, who's even stronger. That's Little. They've got men over. If he can give it, that look forward to me. Campese. No support for him. Wonderful Leinster defence. And Derek Bevan came back and spotted that that was indeed a forward pass. And Phil Lawler limping very slightly, the Leinster and once capped Irish international number 8, comes back on. And that'll be a boost for the home side, who have been under a bit of pressure as the Australians start to get into the rhythm and start to move the ball well. And it looks very much as if Tony Daly is going to have to go off. It seems like a back problem. It looks like his lower back, and the last thing you need as a prop forward is to have a back problem. And on comes Dan Crowley, who's played in 4 tests, was a member of the World Cup squad last year. So that's unfortunate. Tony Daly, who's played 25 times for Australia, the man who scored the try in the final of the World Cup at Twickenham a year ago against England, is coming off to be replaced by an equally solid looking gentleman in Dan Crowley. Yes, the doctor says this man cannot continue and this man must come on.
The Australian replacement is D. Crowley, number 20. As distinct from the number in your program, number 20 is D. Crowley.
A little bit of hands in the scrummage there by Leinster. So the free kick. That's Cairns, who likes to run. Leinster may have killed that, and Derek Bevan on the spot. Good positioning and good refereeing by the Welshman. And Marty Roebuck, I think, is going to be called up by Michael Lynagh, and maybe Lynagh will have a go himself. Game just slowed down very slightly due to injury and a succession of penalties.
Yes, and that was a rather silly penalty by Leinster, because I think it was Love who came from an offside position and dived on the ball and the man on the ground and gave away a very obvious penalty. And it's, I would say, quite a kickable one here to bring the Australians back into the game.
That's the distance for Marty Roebuck, named as the New South Wales Player of the Year in 1991. Another man who played all the way through the World Cup campaign last year. A successful kick then by Marty Roebuck, the first Australian points of the short tour to Ireland and Wales. And with almost 25 minutes gone, it's Leinster 5 and Australia 3.
I think in the remaining 15 minutes of this half, Leinster have to score certainly one or two more tries. They certainly need a margin of about 12 points if they're to make anything of the second half against the Australians. They've got to take full benefit of this breeze.
Alan McGowan with the restart. That's a little bit too far. Line up. Indecision by the Australian skipper, but not so by his half-back partner Peter Slattery. Slattery's been in the Australian squad for a number of years and replaced Nick Farr-Jones in the World Cup final a year ago. Murphy right through, very cleverly done by him. O'Callaghan, Lawler, Brian Rigney, and popped it back into Tim Gavin, and he couldn't hold it, so Leinster may have regained possession for a matter of a metre or two out. They needed that quick ball. Ahern, McGowan, all beautifully done by the youngster, but he's swallowed up by Cairns, who's got on the wrong side, and the Australians offside from that ruck. Fergus Ahern thinking of taking it quickly, and his skipper Vincent Cunningham, I'm quite sure, will say, let's have a go at the posts. Great riposte by Leinster.
Yes, good control by the Leinster forwards, and again, the nice thing about this kick is it's on the right side of the field, because both of the Leinster kickers, and we're now reverting to Alan McGowan, Niall Woods having fluffed his first two attempts, both left-footed kickers, but this time it's on the right side, so we'll be a little bit more hopeful of getting the 3 points.
Alan McGowan kicked 3 penalties and 2 conversions last Wednesday evening in Newcastle upon Tyne as the Irish under-21s went down to their English counterparts, and he was a late choice for this game. The original man from Terranure Club, Paul Hennebury, cried off. So at 20 years old, this has been a very good debut for Alan McGowan. Oh, what a confident kick. Alan McGowan, the youngster, his first senior game for Leinster, and he restores the Leinster lead to 5 points, and we've had 27 minutes played. A lot of smiling faces in that crowd. Marty Roebuck. That's a very good kick-off. And very well taken by Jim O'Callaghan. Tim Gavin is in there. Work by the Leinster pack, but they need to play the ball, make it available. Oh, they've done well. Ahern, McGowan. Oh, clever kick. Carrozza. And little Paul Carrozza finds touch. A pat from Marty Roebuck. McCall takes it for the Australians. Cairns takes on Dowling and Ahern and wins. Slattery off a Hangawi. Hugely strong. Slattery. Oh, this is great driving stuff by Australia. Slattery again. Derek Dowling not offside, says Derek Bevan. Ahern. Damien O'Brien, who catches it this time. And he's a big, strong fella, and it takes 2 Wallabies to put him into touch. That's the big fella from the Clontarf club, Damien O'Brien. About 12 minutes remaining of the first half. And the Australians will not be altogether pleased with their performance in this, the opening game of the tour. Holding down is Phil Lawler. There's the 2 big men who played throughout the World Cup campaign in the second row for the Wallabies, Eales and McCall. And that's the skipper. An uncharacteristic missed a touch. O'Brien Needs a bit of help. He's got it now from Murphy. Murphy has done well to keep that in play. And Dowling. Well, this Leinster pack are giving as good as they've got. That's Rigney. And they've lost it.
As well and all as Leinster are doing, I really do think the forwards should release that ball and not take on the Australians as much as they are, because at the end of the day the Australians will get the better of them, and I'd rather see the ball being pushed out and perhaps McGowan at fly half thumping the ball down the field and attacking from that position, because really that wind will carry them right down there if they use it properly, and I just feel they're just taking too much out of the ball now, Leinster, and they may pay for it in the second half.
Well, yet again, Phil Lawler, the Leinster number 8's in the wars. Little Joe Doran, who's been around a long time, helping him. Lawler capped by Ireland against Argentina 2 years ago. And this young man, Alan McGowan, can be well pleased with his contribution this afternoon. He kicked a penalty just a matter of 4 minutes ago. We're now on the half hour. It's quite a distance, but the wind's behind him. It's a solid contact. And he pushed it away. So no luck for McGowan from long range. 8-3 it remains in favour of Leinster. And they'll be happy enough with that, because a lot of people were predicting a very, very big score indeed. Marty Roebuck. Well taken by Kelvin Leahy. Dowling. McGowan. Hasn't quite got the accuracy. Eales can't hold. It's a very uncomfortable looking Australian side. Roebuck was swallowed up by blue jerseys. They've won it. That's Dowling. He's had a good game. That's Rigney. Manages to hold on to it. Ahern. They have an extra man. Ridge. That's Clark. Oh, Kieran Clark. Well, Campese did a wonderful job of policing there. He just drifted. If Leinster can release this ball, something could be on, and alas, they haven't, and they've conceded a penalty. But Leinster really had the opportunity there to stretch that lead by half-time and came very close. Somebody has obviously said something to Derek Bevan, and Leinster have been marched back 10 metres. Michael Lina does the honours.
Yes, it was a lovely movement here. Leinster using a nice pass by Ridge out to Clark, and Clark really was, as you said, well policed by Lina, and he was forced back inside, and the tackle was made. I think Ridge came in on top and gave away the penalty.
But it's still going forward, so Derek Bevan won't blow his whistle. And as long as it goes forward and the Australians have it, they'll be happy. But once it stops, and if it's not played, the ball will go to Leinster should there be a scrummage. Slattery, I think, really snapping for it. Murphy and Hurley detach. Derek Bevan, as ever, mindful of what's going on out in the three quarters. That's good retention by the Australians. That's Lina, Horan, Little. Lovely little flip move, play on. Ball wasn't touched. O'Brien getting in the way. It's McKenzie, that's Lina. Oh, that's delightfully done, Carrozza. Fergus Ahern, he calls for and has awarded the mark, and well covered by Fergus Ahern. Wastes no time and finds a good touch. Just about 6.5 minutes remaining of the first half, and Fergus Ahern, the former Leinster skipper, Irish international scrum half, pleasing the decent-sized crowd here. Cairns. Using the outside hand. to push the ball back and levering down with the inside arm. That's McGowan. That really is a towering Gary Owen. Gavin's underneath. He and Roebuck can't take. Well played by Leinster. That's Murphy. Offahengawi swallows up Murphy with a great tackle. Slattery, line up. Robbie Love was out quickly. And that's an unfortunate bounce for Damien O'Brien.
Well, I don't think it's the sort of ball that O'Brien should have let bobble around. He should have tried to get in underneath it. And again, that's the third time this half we've seen Michael Lynagh being a little bit indecisive.
John Murphy, the Leinster hooker, is injured. A thumping tackle that was by Willie Offahengawi. That Leinster pack, Phil Lawler joining them, have worked pretty hard all afternoon, and by and large they've given as good as they've got.
Yes, I think it's fair to say that both packs have been taking each other on, and both doing reasonably well, but they've characteristic has been resolute defence by both sides, so they've been taking a fair bit of punishment, and hence the few injuries we've witnessed by both sets of packs, and so they both know they're in the match anyway.
Some running repairs to John Murphy of Greystones. No relation to the other John Murphy, also of Greystones, who played either at centre or full-back for Ireland in the early to mid-80s. Captain of the Irish B team that beat Scotland a year ago, this John Murphy. Well taken by Phil Lawler. Jim O'Callaghan's helped him. Australians strong and keeping Leinster from moving forward. So what Leinster need now is quick possession. Ahern. A bit of a mix-up there between him and Murphy. Murphy perhaps acting too much as a decoy. Well laid back. That's Ahern. Brian Rigney in the way. Well taken by young Tim Horan. That's Cairns. Offahengawi helps. Slattery. Line up. Roebuck. Nice little show of the ball. Slattery, Lynagh, lovely skills. This is Horan. Well through. Great tackle by Martin Ridge. And away come the Wallabies. And Leinster defending desperately, but the first real little glimpse that we've had of the delightful sleight of hand by the Australian midfielders, and the crowd appreciate it.
I think that the distance or the difference between the two packs at the moment is that when the Australians get going forward, they do release the ball more quickly and more efficiently to their backs, and Leinster are just taking just that little bit too much out of it.
Well, some fine Leinster defence there. Martin Ridge pulling down Tim Horan. Ahern, McGowan, little adjustment. It's a sensible thing to do by Vincent Cunningham, but he hasn't quite made the ground. Roebuck, well held by O'Brien. Well, I think Marty Roebuck might swap his jersey afterwards. He may not have a collar to it. Damien O'Brien's a big, strong fellow. Just about 2 minutes remaining in the first half, and Leinster have done remarkably well. You can't take a single thing away from them. They've more than matched the world champions. That's Jim O'Callaghan, the newcomer from Wanderers. Slattery eludes Murphy. He's turned his body well, Slattery. Offahengawi. Cairns has got a pause on that. Now they're pretty close to the touchline, and Leinster will try to squeeze them out if they can. Leinster Leinster player joining the maul in front of the ball. And big Tim Gavin comes back with it. A score here for Australia before half-time would be a severe blow for Leinster, and Michael Lynagh is going for position. We've now had just about 40 minutes played in the first half. This is the closest the Australians have been to the Leinster line for most of the half. Well, taken in by Ewan McKenzie. Slattery, that's Cairns trying to punch a hole in the Leinster defence. Slattery, it's Crowley who's doing just the same. This is really good punch and drive stuff from the Wallabies. There's Cairns, the pass master at it. Help from Wilson, the flanker. Leinster really have to be at their very best defensively. Slattery, Lynagh, Horan. That's Roebuck who couldn't hold. Lynagh, little gaps come through. Lynagh. Again, the Leinster defence good. Jason Little, a matter of a metre or two out. It's gone loose. Derek Bevan, beautifully positioned. Good positional play from the Welsh referee. And Leinster defending really as best they can. And they've got to put into the scrummage. Into injury time now in the first half. Just 5 points between them. Leinster 8, Australia 3. Fergus Ahern. Down they go. The front rows collapse. Derek Bevan asking them to crouch down before they join. Ahern told to put the ball in. That's very untidy. Derek Bevan sensibly bringing them away from the near post, because if the Australians do get a surge on, Leinster could be thrust back against that upright. Derek Dowling on this side for Leinster against the replacement prop, Dan Crowley, for the Australians. Still no sign of it coming back. A lot of pressure on the far side on the Leinster loosehead prop, Henry Hurley, who's deputising for Irish international Nick Popplewell. That's Ahern. Oh, good Australian shove. Alan McGowan gets it away, much to the relief of the crowd. And he applauds the efforts by his pack. And he's a confident young fella, Fergus, from your own club, Blackrock.
Yes, he's got a good start to his Leinster interprovincial career, and I think he's going to have a long one. And possibly if he can build on his performance today, he may even go a little bit higher.
Well, the Irish team to play the Australians will not be announced until after the Ulster game next weekend, so who knows what might happen. This is Cairns. What a jump by McCall. I think with a little help from his friends, as the Lennon and McCartney song used to say. Australia, you can see how desperate they are to score before the interval. They have the ball in there. A matter of a couple of metres out. Offahangawi picking up. And Leinster have been penalised for taking the maul down. And what will Michael Lynagh do? Leinster pack really have survived an awful lot of pressure, and Michael Lynagh seems to have indicated that Marty Roebuck will have a kick at goal.
I think if you take the last 3 or 4 minutes of play and the standard of the Australian forward plays, I think you're going to see an awful lot more of that in the second half. They've far more control. Unlike Leinster, the Australians are driving from the front with the ball retained at the back so that it's absolutely secure, and then they're making their decisive move from that point, putting an awful lot of pressure on Leinster now. And I think that with the wind at their back in the second half, Australia will really get stuck into this Leinster side.
So the Australian fullback, Marty Roebuck, from the Eastwood Club in New South Wales, with a penalty goal to his credit this afternoon, ignoring, as he should, although it's difficult, some rather ill-natured booing. Has he answered them? Yes, he has indeed, in off the post, and that's the way to do it. And a second penalty for Marty Roebuck closes the gap to 2 points as the half-time whistle goes, leaving Leinster leading the world champions Australia by 8 points to 6. Derek Bevan blows his whistle. Alan McGowan restarts for Leinster, 2 points ahead of the world champions. And Phil Cairns, the hooker, and Dan Crowley, the prop, and David Wilson, the flank forward, really put together a fine run at the start of the second half. Taken on again by the Wallabies, a Leinsterman in the way, and quite rightly pays the penalty. Not only was he stood on for his pains, but he's been penalised. And this is just the start that the Australians wanted. And I have a funny feeling Marty Roebuck will go to make it 3 kicks out of 3 at goal. And that's just exactly what's happened. So the crucial parts, really, of any game, the end of the first and the start of the second, and Australia could well go from being 5 points adrift to 1 point in front within the matter of a couple of minutes.
And Leinster being penalised straight away from Alan McGann's kickoff, which went probably 20 metres deep. Certainly 10 metres too deep for his forwards, and gave the Australians a very good running charge at Leinster, and hence pushed themselves 30-40 metres up the pitch and giving them this opportunity to kick 3 points.
So it's Marty Roebuck with 2 successful kicks out of 2 attempts so far. And he's made it 3 out of 3, and for the first time in this game, and we're almost 2 minutes into the second half, the world champions go ahead, and there's just 1 point between them. McGowan restarts. That's a better kick, taken by Cairns. Not much room in that narrow side to play with. Slattery to a skipper. Damien O'Brien once again waited perhaps for the bounce. Great tackle by Tim Horan. Leinster supporters there. And the Australians penalised. Tim Gavin, the number 8, the man who missed the World Cup last year. McGowan into the wind, finds a reasonable touch, and of course Leinster will get the throw in. Ahern. Offahangawi gobbles him up. It's well won by Leinster on the ground. Lawler, McGowan. Little show of the ball. Dowling, but misdirected. Ridge still there. Good support play from the Leinster pack again. Ahern, McGowan, Kieran Clark. Oh, right into a wave of golden jerseys. Again, the Leinster forwards seem to have won that. It's Robbie Love. Not a bad kick for a flank forward. Marty Roebuck takes and gets the mark, and that was well played by Leinster. They won 3 or 4 successive ruck balls and used them reasonably well.
Yes, again, it's taking them all their time and energy and worth to get the ball out of those rucks, and unfortunately each time it's a dead ball for their halfbacks.
Well, that is a simply stunning kick by Marty Roebuck. He was about 1.5 meters in from the touchline, and he kept it plumb all the way down, and he's made perhaps 80 meters for his side. That's a world-class kick from a world-class player. So from inside their own 22, the Wallabies are now inside the Leinster 22. John Murphy. Wilson knocks down Robbie Love. Ahern, McGowan under pressure from John Eales. and he's found a very good touch indeed. He's a cool young customer. Phil Cairns insisting that the lines are straight. McCall, that's the line-up. Horan, off a Hungawi at pace, well taken down by Phil Lawler. Great support now. This is the Australian starting to warm up. It's Mackenzie, the tight head, thumping tackle by Leinster. They've still got it off a Hungawi. And the ball going forward from an Australian hand. And Leinster, as they did throughout the first half, defending desperately, but defending successfully. See how low those front rows are. Good strike by Murphy. Cunningham, the skipper, sensibly kept it down into the wind. A very good kick by Vincent Cunningham, one of the most accomplished players in Irish rugby and has been for a number of years.
You can see a pattern emerging whereby the difficulty that Leinster are having trying to get out of their own half, and the dominance that the Australians will probably push down in this game now over the next 5 or 10 minutes.
Robbie Love at the back. Well taken by the huge John Eales for Australia. Wilson and Offa Hungawi in there for Australia. Wilson seems to have it. Leinster have crabbed them towards the touchline. Tim Gavin driving forward. Leinster holding on, bringing the thing down and conceding the penalty, and no doubt Marty Roebuck will have another crack at goal. Seems to be an injury to Willie Offa Hungawi. What a blow that would be for the Australians. John Murphy is in the wars, not for the first time.
The problem here for Leinster is that the Australians are holding the ball at the back of their maul, and they're driving and driving with their men in front, so the ball is absolutely secure, and then they're trying to peel around the edges with a little bit of momentum, and in order to nullify that, Leinster have had to concede the odd penalty, and with the pressure I'm assuming, and it almost certainly will happen, that the pressure will mount further and further, and that Leinster will be forced into giving away more and more penalties, and that few more points on the board, and Australia might open up a gap between the two sides.
Offa Hungawi, who operated in the middle of the back row in a number of the World Cup games last year in the absence of Tim Gavin, who couldn't tour, seems to be okay. John Murphy does not look particularly happy, and Joe Doran's application of the sponge is not really making matters any better, and what a mess that is. So it's Roebuck with a fourth penalty attempt. He's got 3 out of 3 thus far. And he's missed that one. So the score, with almost 9 minutes on the board in the second half, remains at Leinster 8 and Australia 9. And John Murphy, I think, is going to have to come off. And on for Leinster comes the Blackrock hooker, Shane Byrne. Permission has been given. John Murphy really looking rather sorry for himself.
The Leinster replacement, number 51, Shane Byrne.
That's another Blackrock man, Alan McGowan. That's a good kick by him. But back on the Australian side, Gavin couldn't hold. Derek Bevan applying the advantage very nicely. Vincent Cunningham, the Leinster skipper. got help from Jim O'Callaghan. It stops, so Leinster need it, and they've won it. McGowan, Ridge, nice pass. It's Niall Woods with a bit of pace. Well taken down by Horan. And a penalty against Wilson, who's not preventing the man from playing the ball. David Wilson, very quick to the breakdown, but was penalised.
Yeah, well, there's a beautiful pass again from Martin Ridge in the middle of the field out to Woods, and Woods did get around Campese, but was pulled down on his inside, and unfortunately he was lucky enough that Australia conceded the penalty because he fell the wrong way.
So Vincent Cunningham kicking himself. Kicking the ball, I should say, into touch. He's not been kicking himself, he'd be well pleased with himself. That's Shane Byrne, that's Kelvin Leahy. All taken by Offahangawi. Ahern, McGowan, nice transfer, Ridge. The Australian backline looking suspiciously offside, but the forward pass, or the knock forward by Ridge, gives the Wallabies to put into the scrummage. It's Martin Ridge, one of the handful of Blackrock men in this Leinster side. The Wallabies win that. Liner. The kick not as well flighted as he might have wished. This is Niall Woods. He's got a lot of pace. Phil Lawler in support well, but Woods in touch. Quick thinking by the Australians. Liner. Little. Liner again. This is Horan. Campese's outside him, looking ominous. That's lovely from Campese. This is Campese and Australia really in concert. Delightful stuff. We waited 40 minutes and nothing came in the first half. And David Campese, entertainer supreme, has opened up the Leinster defence with a little help from the men inside him. And that really now looks ominous for the Irish provincial side. It was the quick ruck ball, lovely transfer by Liner. Now watch Horan, who had Campese. Now that's a double act that you'd pay money to go and see anywhere in the world. And look at Campese. Once he got through that gap, he knew he was home. Lovely, lovely try.
Again, there's a situation here where Woods has had the cards turned up on top of him because Campese came back inside him, or Horan came back inside, switched the ball into Campese on the reverse, and left all the Leinster defence at a standstill.
Marty Roebuck from just inside the Leinster 22. Very narrow angle for him. Hasn't judged that well at all. But that David Campese try gives you a fair idea of what the Australians are really capable of. 13 minutes gone then, Leinster 8 and Australia 14.
Again, a lovely pass by the fly half out to Horn. And again, you see how Horn draws Campese back inside and just completely spiced the whole Leinster defence. And just romped in for a typical, almost makes it easy, doesn't he? It's too easy.
Well taken by John Eales from the kickoff. Offahangawi. They've made that available. Liner. Little glance. Doesn't kick well today, Michael Liner. Now Woods with a little bit of interest. That may just carry. Carrozza comes back. Leaves it to Horan and to Liner. This is almost like seven stuff now. And that went out. Well, Leinster take it quickly. It's Niall Woods. Well, that was a bad mistake. He may have got away with it. Leinster lose this, they could be in trouble, but at least they're going forward. David Wilson going in to help. The Wallabies may have just pinched that, and they're going to get the put into the scrummage. Jake Bevan, delighted, he tells me, to be back at Lansdowne Road. Good Australian scrummage. Gavin controlling. He's punched the hole. He's very quick, the big fella. That's Slattery. Well, he couldn't quite do a double act as Horan and Campese conjured it up. But Gavin came off the back of that scrummage very quickly. John Eales and Rod McCall in the second row. Well, they've missed a touch. Campese has placed that well outside the 22. He's swallowed up McGowan. McGowan's done well. Ridge. He should have given that first time. Well done, the Leinster pack. It's Cunningham, the skipper. Again, with men outside him, he cuts back in. As long as the pack keep winning the ball, it's not so bad. That's a Hearn. That's a sensible kick. Oh, it's set up for the man himself. Oh. There's his skipper. Off of Hangawi. Roebuck in support. And just going forward. And signs that the Wallabies are starting, now that they've got the lead, Fergus, they're now starting to relax a little bit.
Yes, well, they're capable of scoring, you know, 21 points, 3 converted tries in a matter of minutes. So, I mean, they can open up a gap as wide as a canyon in seconds.
McGowan, Cunningham. That's not a bad kick if his pack can get underneath it. Roebuck is there, and he's held that wonderfully. Support he has from Gavin. Farley, the replacement prop, is helping. Well, they've kept that ball nice and tight into the bellies. They're still going. Leinster bewildered as to where the ball might just be. I think it's with Phil Cairns. Now it's Slattery. That's Lina. That's Roebuck with Campese outside him. Lovely change of pace. Jason Little. Slattery overruns him. There it is. Cairns, who's immensely strong, taking it on. And Leinster penalised. And Leinster starting, you've got to say, Fergus, to tire ever so slightly.
Yes, well, the pressure, it's inevitable that this pressure is going to take its toll, and the Australians will just keep punching away, and ultimately Leinster will concede the penalty, and from that position there, it's quite a kickable one for Roebuck. And I may say that he's having an outstanding game, because a lot of those kicks that have been put up to him, he's receiving with man and ball, and he's coming out on top, and great achievement.
Marty Roebuck with 3 successful penalty attempts out of 4. He's missed with a conversion of that superlative Campese try. And he's missed with a relatively straightforward penalty attempt. So 3 out of 5 in terms of penalties for Marty Roebuck. Still 6 points between them. Leinster 8, Australia 14, as we come up to the end of the third quarter. McGowan, that's a nicely placed dropout. Well taken by Leinster, by Kelvin Leahy, but the ball had gone forward from a Leinster hand. Phil Lawler shakes that red hair of his red head, I should say.
A great attacking opportunity here for Australia.
Off of Hangawi, making ground. Well done. Driving by the Wallabies. Slattery inside to the sturdy Crowley, the replacement prop. See how they keep it available. Lina, Horan, Campese appears from nowhere again. Twinkle-toed stuff from the maestro. As Gavin picking up. Slattery, loads of options open for the Wallabies if they can only get it back. There it is. Wilson going for the line. Wilson gets the touchdown. Another try for the Australians, and Leinster gallant Leinster starting really to wilt under the pressure as David Wilson gets the second try of the second half for the Wallabies. As ever, Campese in the thick of things. It was brought back inside to him. Now, he eluded 2 or 3 Leinster tackles, and just when he seemed to be swallowed up by blue shirts, he was good enough to get the ball down. But the Australians didn't quite win it as quickly as they might have. 1 or 2 people hanging in there, Lina waiting behind. Rod McCall just with John Eales having a little look. Campese actually went in to see what was going on, and Wilson came round behind. You can see him having a glance outside, and he put the head down and got through almost 4 Leinster tackles. Roebuck with the conversion from the right side of the field. This time he's made no mistake. And having been 8-6 up at half-time, Leinster are falling further and further behind.
Yes, again, this whole movement started from the scrum on the left side of the field, and when Australia have the full breadth of the field, they're at the most dangerous because their options are most varied. And here they set up the ruck close to the line and just easily take. Peter Sally got smothered and it looked as though it was all over. But again, Eales got in there and managed to work away and get the ball available for Wilson, who just drove over, checked and got through it.
Here come the Wallabies again. Roebuck. Campese. Got help from Roebuck. A good thundering driving by the Leinster pack. A large figure of Brian Rigney to the fore. And they've got to put into the scrummage. 13 points the difference, and Leinster, as we go into the final quarter of this game, can be very proud of their efforts this afternoon. Good strike by Byrne. As Lawler, as the scrum was going backwards, he did well. He's made it available. Well, there's the old question of Leinster really not being certain what they're doing, whereas the Australians know exactly what's happening when they win the ball. The Australians offside. And Alan McGowan will have a go at the posts. Alan McGowan, who got a penalty for Leinster in the first half, the 20-year-old from the Blackrock Club here in Dublin. Doesn't look to be the most difficult of kicks. And he's done well. And he's closed the gap to 10 points. Australia looking very strong. Leinster certainly making a game of it.
Yes, but I still think that with the remaining time that's up there, that the Australians will widen that gap even further and possibly a couple of more tries, and I wouldn't be surprised if Campese was at hand on one of them.
It's a bit far by Roebuck. Leinster contrived to make a mess of that. This is the strength-sapping stuff from the world champions. They're really forcing Leinster to meet them at close quarters. Now they need it. There's Wilson, the try scorer, hanging out, number 7. Now they give it back. Lina. That's Horan. That's Little, his partner. For both club and country. That's the energetic Cairns. Inside to the big men. Slattery. Lina. There's Campese. Is Fergus Slattery right? Well, he's been well held up by Leinster. Mackenzie, the tight head, is in there. And because Australia couldn't get the ball back, Leinster get the put into the scrummage.
I think on that occasion, Mr. Campese made a bit of a mess of it because he had a little bit of support coming up behind him, and if he had released that ball there, it might have been a score in the corner.
It's David Wilson, the 25-year-old, the try scorer, the man who's taken over the role of the great Simon Poidevin, Australia's most capped forward, Simon Poidevin. Wilson played in all 6 tests this summer, 2 against Scotland, 3 against the All Blacks, and 1 against South Africa. McGowan under pressure gets it away for Leinster. With the interprovincial campaign coming up in December, the Leinster coach Jim Glennon will certainly take great heart from this performance so far. Once again, the Wallabies have shortened the line-out. Gavin has moved up to jump at 2, and the Giants are at the back. David Campese, I think, is going off. He's got a very nasty looking, well, he's grinning. He's got a very nasty, I don't think it's a cut, it's more a graze than anything else. It's a rather nasty looking graze on his forehead, and I don't think it's too serious. A little bit of water or even a bit of a lick would just do it. Nothing too serious. Well, the doctor's having a good look and says, oh, there's nothing much wrong with you, back you go. And the crowd will be pleased about that. They'd really love to see this man. Five men then in the Wallaby line. That's Eales at the back. Oh, he's taken that well. Slattery, Wilson. There's that good support as Leinster try to drag it down. They've retained it. Slattery. Lina, that's Horan, that's Campese, Roebuck, he's maybe overcooked it. Australia have won that, Leinster could be in very deep trouble. Leinster managed to get it away, and Fergus Ahern, the Irish international scrum half, plays his rugby in this very pitch with the Lansdowne club, does the honours. So again, good Leinster defence. Australia have this game pretty well in hand. About 13 minutes remaining, and it's Leinster 11, Australia 21. And with the new scoring values, well, anything could happen. Serious-looking Willie Offahangawe. Seven-man lineup by the Wallabies. Rod McCall soars. Look how well they protect that ball. That's great mauling. The forwards are going to drive for the line if they can. Fergus Ahern doesn't want to be in there for too much longer. Offahangawe protecting. Maybe they just should have given it. There it is. Slattery, Lina. Oh, Campese. The gap was there. He came in from the right wing, and they've rehearsed that so many times. And David Campese, his second try of the afternoon, and that really puts this game beyond all reasonable doubt. And who better to emphasise the superiority of the world champions than the world's top try scorer in international rugby, David Campese. The pack took their time about setting it up. Look at Lina, back inside. Nobody realised what Campese was doing, and he was over before Leinster could blink. So 2 tries for David Campese on the opening game of the tour. And the conversion by Marty Roebuck from right in front of the posts.
Again, all this came from a lot of good tight driving, mauling, and put all the pressure on Leinster, and such an easy pass back out from Lina into Campese, just opening up the gap and making an easy drive.
Alan McGowan restarts. John Eales goes up and takes. Offa Hungawi collects and protects and shields. There's the surge in the narrow side. There's McEwen so close to the ground. Offa Hungawi again. Wilson, Slattery, line up. Little. There's Campese. Couldn't quite get it away. Great support though. This is line up. Horan. Strong youngster makes it available. Slattery, line up. Lots of men there. Oh, that's lovely. Here's Campese. It's Offa Hungawi. Times the pass to Wilson. Great tackle by Leinster. The line of the skipper, right round, and support play at its very, very highest. We wondered just how good they were at the end of the first half, which saw Leinster turn round 2 points up. And I think we've got the answer to that, and it's they're very, very good indeed. The pack again setting it up. Now look how Lina was involved in it. He released Campese, who came inside. Offa Hungawi, nice bit of timing. Very good covering tackle by young Niall Woods on David Wilson. Offa Hungawi in there, scooped it up, and Michael Lina, who really started the thing, finished it off in style in the corner. Marty Roebuck with the conversion. And he hasn't got it. But the gap between the sides, 22 points. One or two people predicted it may be 30. But there's still 8 minutes to go.
Well, there are two things come out of this try. Is the beautiful long pass here, letting the ball do the work, and then noting that Campese, in fact, is the right winger, taking the ball way out on the left side. A terrific support by loose forwards. Despite the very good tackle there, the effort of the loose forward getting out to that side made it easy for Lionel to score the ball.
From the restart, Leinster have got a penalty. To their credit, they're taking it quickly. Cohesion of the Leinster pack still there. McGowan. This is skipper Cunningham, who's got help from Robbie Love, the back row forward. Damien O'Brien. Big strong Phillip, and a nice turn of speed and useful footwork. That's Ahern, that's McGowan, that's Kieran Clark. Great defence by Horan. There's Campese. Interesting right-footed kick by him, and he's found space. The Ridge in all sorts of trouble, as is Ahern. Carossa has him. Ahern will have to play that. He's done well. Back goes Kieran Clark. Penalty against the Wallabies for not allowing that ball to be played.
Well, that all came from Clark being caught, what I would call flat-footed, attacking the Australian line and being penalised, and Campese getting a rather untidy kick, but it just shows you how sometimes an untidy kick can produce dividends.
Eales, that's Slattery. Unmistakable figure of Offa Hungawi. Hands like shovels. He's able to hold that ball as if it were a tennis ball. That's Cairns in support. And they really do punch holes in any defence. And even if they can't quite get through, the support is right on the shoulder. And they're doing it at pace. It's very difficult to counter. Fergus Ahern, Alan McGowan. What a tackle by Offa Hungawi. Support by Robbie Love. In fact, it was Kelvin Leahy. That's Ahern with nowhere to go. Five minutes remaining, and the world champions leading Leinster by 33 points to 11. Alan McGowan, who was thumped very heavily indeed by Offahan Gowie, perfectly legally, seems to be in a bit of trouble, perhaps a wrist injury. McGowan restored to full fitness. Good Wallaby scrum. Liner. Horan. Oh, there's Campese. Is he going to get three? Interception by Clark. But he's got a long way to go, and there are a lot of golden shirts there. Ahern. This is Ridge. This is Woods. Ridge again. Campese did well to take him down and get the ball back. That's Liner, the skipper. And little Alan McGowan tackles a man whom he's idolised for some years, Michael Liner. Shane Byrne, the replacement Leinster hooker from the Blackrock Club. That's untidy, a lot of holding there. That's Fergus Ahern, who's suddenly run out of friends in the middle of the field. Willie Offahan Gowie coming round offside. Lyle Woods. McGowan. Cunningham. Jim O'Callaghan, the Leinster second row. Ahern, nice change of mind. Not a lot of profit in kicking it to this man. There goes Campese. Well, that's delightful. Oh, that's Carrozza. Oh, the crowd are loving this. Slattery on the narrow side. There's Liner, the skipper. Is he going to get a second? He certainly is. Well, the options open at just about every turn for Australia. And Michael Liner, who has not exactly had a great afternoon in terms of his tactical kicking, really has looked the part once he's got the ball in his hands. A huge chasm opened on the far side, and Liner, ball tucked well into his chest, head down, and a dive from far out, and Fergus Ahern couldn't stop him.
Yeah, it's a simple try, worked off the narrow side, and Slattery just bringing in O'Brien off the wing and pushing Liner away free to score in the corner.
Roebuck. And yet another missed conversion. The Australians not perhaps kicking as well as they would have liked, but it's a strong swirling wind. But nevertheless, the lead now have 27 points. Just about a minute and a half of normal playing time remaining. It's a little bit too far. David Wilson takes support from Rod McCall. So Brian, good support work from Fergus Ahern, but good defence by the Australians, and in particular by Paul Carrozza. Slattery. The schoolboys along the side who've been allowed into this game free, and I'm quite sure they would have saved up their pocket money and paid to get in to see the world champions. Phil Lawler, all on his own. Ahern, Brian Rigney, a thundering run by the Irish international. Ahern. McCall didn't make much of an attempt to get out of the way of O'Brien. This is Peter Slattery. Phil Cairns, the hooker. Dan Crowley, the replacement prop. Line-up. Little. Campese. Carrozza. He's come right round from the wrong wing. Campese there to help him. Yet again, the Australians being penalised. There's Niall Woods. Brian Rigney. Jason Little intercepts. That's Little. Leinster not retiring back the prerequisite 10 metres. Line up, lovely transfer. That's Horan. This is lovely. Wilson with Campese. Great turn of speed from the flanker. Phil Lawler takes it and whacks it into touch despairingly. And Derek Bevan blows his whistle. We've had about 1 minute of injury time played. But what a rising performance by the Australians in the second half. They were 2 points adrift at the interval to a very gallant Leinster side, but they came back in considerable style, scoring 5 tries in the second period. 2 from Campese, 2 from the skipper Lina, 1 from the flanker Wilson. But a good start to the tour, and the Australians running out fairly impressive winners in the end by 38 points to 11. The free kick was to Australia. The new law says that they will get the throw in to the line out. That's Phil Cairns. Looking for Gavin. Nice tap at the back by Eales. Well taken by Leinster. Ahern. Well, he's used the wind well. That's going to test Campese. It's bounced infield. Here's Campese. Doesn't find touch. That's McGowan. He's got support inside from Ahern. Alan McGowan. Well taken by Campese. John Murphy, the Leinster hookers in support. Well, this really is terrific stuff by Leinster. Brian Rigney, the heaviest man on the Leinster side, 18 stones of him, gets forward. Ahern, Henry Hurley, the loose head prop, that looked like a high tackle. Not a high tackle indeed. Derek Bevan reckons that the Australians were offside. And what a tremendous performance by Leinster.
Yes, and again, it was a very good kick by Ahern, and I do think Leinster are using that win. It's quite significant out there, and they're going to have to get points on the board in this first half but to make any contest of the game. One or two things I'd like to see Leinster doing is in the back of the scrum, I'd like to see them releasing that ball straight away, because I think their potential to score points is going to be behind the scrum and not up front. So I think really getting that ball away quickly. I also think they could use 1 or 2 short line-outs.
That's Niall Woods, the Leinster wing three-quarter from the Blackrock Club. Plays his club rugby outside Brendan Mullen, who alas has lost to Irish rugby through retirement last year. So what looks to be a fairly straightforward chance for Niall Woods to score the first points of the Australian tour. And that was a pretty poor attempt by Niall Woods, and he'll not be desperately pleased with himself about that. It wasn't a particularly difficult kick, but he made quite a mess of it. So coming up to 8 minutes gone, no score. Advantage, you have to say, with Leinster. Marty Roebuck with a restart. That's perfect for his forwards. Well taken by Phil Lawler, the Leinster number 8. Dowling, the prop, trying to help him. He's done that well. Eales suspiciously offside. Murphy, Ahern, that's McGowan. Well, that's a towering kick. That's going to test Roebuck underneath on his ridge. And Roebuck takes it wonderfully well. Kept his eye right on the ball. Chance for the Australians. Carrozza changes his mind. Kieran Clark for Leinster. Drop it goal, that's a good one. Oh my goodness, that couldn't have been closer. Line of the skipper looking a little bit unsettled. Two Australian props arriving rather late, Daly and Mackenzie, but they've won it. Roebuck at outside half, off a Hangawi, interception. Not offside, Derek Bevan had a good look. Ahern, Ridge. We had three men over. Campese, who can play a bit at full back covering, as you'd expect an international wing 3/4 and get to the way. Wrong option, Fergus, perhaps?
Yes, I think Ridge should have let that ball go and give the players outside the time in which to judge whether the kick was on. But certainly the option was there for his outsides to kick the ball. I think he should have moved it a bit further wide.
There's Tony Daly, the Australian loosehead prop. Leinster on the Wallabies 22. Well taken by Jim O'Callaghan from Wanderers. Hurley, the loosehead, doing a good job of ripping. Ahern, that's McGowan, is at a confident senior interprovincial debut, if we can call it that. Well taken by Ridge. Great ball by Leinster. McGowan, Cunningham the skipper. It's out to Woods, trying to get round Campese. Oh, he's done it. Woods going for the corner. Oh, what a great try. The crowd at Lansdowne Road thrilled to bits. And Niall Woods, who scored a couple of weeks ago for Leinster against the Irish Exiles in a similar position, had to do much more this time. Alan McGowan provided the perfect link. Now, the Australians seem to have him fairly well covered. And Woods against Campese. Campese seemed to have him, and then Woods just wriggled out. He's got a fair turn of pace. The Australian defence was caught. They slowed down when they thought Campese had him.
Well, really, Leinster shouldn't have scored from that position because Australia had more players defending than Leinster, and Campese made the mistake of almost throwing Woods through the tackle and setting him on his journey into the corner.
So it's Woods himself with the conversion. And one or two people were saying that if Leinster could hold this Australian side to 30 or 40 points, they'd be doing well. And here they are 5 points up and a conversion to come. This is the man who scored the 5 points. And he hasn't got his accuracy right in terms of his kicking. He missed with an earlier penalty. But 15 minutes, not quite gone. And Leinster leading Australia by 5 points to 0.
I think one of the problems with that wind is that both kickers are left-footed, and we're seeing here Woods running around Campese, and Campese throwing him out of the tackle almost, and Woods slipping away and scoring in the corner.
The game has restarted. Derek Dowling, the Leinster tight head. Ahern.
Lansdowne Road in Dublin, a ground Australian rugby remembers somewhat more fondly than does New Zealand. Last time the Wallabies played here, they beat the All Blacks in that famous semi-final of the 1991 World Cup. Today, Australia are back for the first of 5 games in the Emerald Isle before they cross the Irish Sea and play 7 games in Wales and 1 at Twickenham. Today's opposition will be strong. Leinster, the Irish provincial champions, already with half a dozen games under their belts and boasting a number of internationals in their team.
Referee this afternoon, another seasoned campaigner. Welcome visitor to Lansdowne Road from Wales, Mr. Derek Bevan. Derek Bevan blows his whistle, and Marty Roebuck gets the first game of the Wallabies tour underway. Already Phil Cairns under pressure. That's Martin Ridge hacking through as skipper Vincent Cunningham follows up. Well, a dramatic start by Leinster. Derek Bevan, though, brings them back as Vincent Cunningham thought he was heading for glory. Derek Bevan gives the first scrummage of the afternoon then to the Australian side. And what a test this is going to be for that Leinster front row against what's arguably the most powerful scrummaging front row trio in international rugby. Peter Slattery, that's Gavin. Slattery again. Offahangawi couldn't hold. The formidable Gavin takes it forward. Good rucking by the Wallabies. Lina. Oh, there's a bit of a gap. And Michael Lina, the skipper, opts to go for position rather than unleash David Campese, who'd come round from the left wing. Michael Lina, the most prolific point scorer in international rugby union football. First line of the afternoon, John Murphy, the Greystones hooker. Looking for Rigney at the front. It's a good ball by Leinster. And what a confident kick by young Alan McGowan. That's quickly taken by Campese, the new dispensation allowing him to do that. This is Carrozza, who can't hold. Chance for Leinster if they can capitalise, no advantage. Derek Bevan waits. Leinster have won that well. Fergus Ahern, Cunningham the skipper. Nicely placed for Clark and for O'Brien to chase. And a good confident start, Fergus, by Leinster.
Yes, and obviously a nice start for Alan McGowan because he's hoping to get a couple of good kicks in because Leinster will take advantage of that full wind that they have in this first half.
Perfect conditions at Lansdowne Road. A bit of a breeze which is slightly favouring Leinster. The pitch really in remarkable order. Back on the Australian side, tidying up by Peter Slattery. On a fiery start by Leinster. And the possession not won by the Australians, so the put into the scrummage is going to go to the home side, Leinster. Good strike by Murphy. That's Fergus Ahern. That's O'Brien. Runs into Carrozza. Leinster back row well there, and Derek Bevan blows his whistle. That quick scrummage ball, Fergus, is just what Leinster will be looking for. Slattery under all sorts of pressure. And again, Leinster are doing well.
Yes, the first few scrums we've seen have been drifting around, moving forward on the Leinster loosehead side, and it's causing a bit of disruption in the back row of the Australian side. Hence, Peter Slattery has been caught once or twice already in the early stage of the game.
On the near side, Derek Dowling against the formidable Tony Daly. Ahern, that's McGowan, the youngster. Cunningham, the skipper, right through. Well, Vincent Cunningham held up a matter of 2 or 3 metres out. What a great ball this for Leinster. McGowan, that's Ridge, who's very strong. Great defence by Lina. Hurley, the loose head prop, tidies. Great support again by Leinster. Options open on both sides. Ahern with the dummy. Leinster will have to win it, and the penalty against them for going over and killing. Very enthusiastic. The crowd don't like it. Derek Bevan quite right. Lina takes it quickly. And Jason Little, one of a pair of 22-year-old centres from Australia, gets it away. A lively start by Leinster.
Yes, and the Australians have shown twice on the initiative that they will always take with a quick line out in one instance and then the very quick penalty. Both times they've caught Leinster.
Wonderfully taken by the huge John Eales. He's got support. Mackenzie adds his 17 stones to it. Great driving by the world champion. Slattery, Lina, Offahangawi. That was the Tongan torpedo, among other things. Leinster offside, Phil Lawler. And will Michael Lina opt to go for the first points of the tour himself? It's a long way out. And all that hard Leinster work really reduced to nothing. Lina playing it safe and playing it sensibly. And when you've got big men like Rod McCall and John Eales and Tim Gavin at the back, you've got a lot of options in that line-out. And 2 let-offs, Fergus, for the Australians. A straightforward penalty miss and then that drop goal.
Yes, I think the Australians are finding the conditions just a little bit blustery, and also they're getting a very good lively response from Leinster, so they really have got to work a little bit harder.
Roebuck with the restart. Underneath it well was the huge McCall. Leinster have won it. Ahern, that's into the box for O'Brien to chase, and Carrozza takes it. Interesting then, while Carrozza is wearing number 14, he's actually playing on the left wing, and Campese's over on the right. But they don't seem to mind where they play. Ahern, bit of pushing, but the ball did not go down the middle, and Leinster will take the option of the scrummage. Indeed, it's going to be an Australian put in.
Comment earlier there, Jim, about Carrozza and Campese. In fact, that's the way Campese always seems to wear his shirt, on the wrong side.
Good scrum by the Wallabies. Slattery. Delightful kick by Michael Lynagh. Taken over from the man with whom he was partnered for so many years, Nick Farr-Jones, as the Australian skipper. The breeze still favouring Leinster. John Murphy from Greystones, the hooker. Rigney got a first touch through a Slattery. Kelvin Leahy almost on top of him. That's Peter Slattery. No relation to the gentleman sitting beside me, or so he tells me. Murphy. Lawler couldn't get to it. Beaten by Eales. Slattery off for Hangawi. He's so strong. And they need to win this. And Leinster may just have stolen it. So it's the old case in the new law of use it or lose it, and the Australians couldn't get it back. And the scrummage is going to go to Leinster. 11 minutes gone, still no score. Fergus Ahern. Good strike by Murphy. Ahern, that's O'Brien, still there. And Fergus Ahern recovered well. I think Derek Bevan felt that there was just a little knock forward.
Yes, unfortunately, O'Brien has got the ball twice on the short side, and each occasion he's fumbled. And it's unfortunate because he's a good, strong, hard player and he can take the ball on the short side.
Nice miss move. There's Campese. Look at that acceleration. First glimpse we've had of him. Support from Little. Lynagh, the skipper.